Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. In this video we are going to discuss about the lymphatic drainage of breast. Lymphatic drainage of breast will discuss under two headings. In the first part we'll discuss about the lymph nodes. In the second part we'll discuss about the lymphatics or the channels through which the lymph passes. Then what is this actual lymph? Lymph is a part of the plasma which just leaks from the capillaries into the tissue. So as the blood flows from the heart towards the peripheral tissues to provide the nutrition and oxygen, it passes through the capillaries. In the capillary wall, there are some holes are present through which a part of the plasma, including the water and some part of the proteins, that is smaller proteins, leaks into the tissues to provide the nutrition. So this fluid part, which is continuously getting lost from the blood, has to be replenished. In order to provide the replenished blood or the replenished part of the plasma, this lymphatic drainage assumes great importance. So the lymph is actually part of the plasma which has to finally mix with the blood through this lymphatic drainage system. Okay, so first let's start with the lymph nodes of the breast. So in total we have to study 5 lymph nodes. What are this? There is a trick to remember all the lymph nodes. IMA PCS. Okay, IMA PCS. IM stands for internal mammary nodes, A stands for axillary nodes, P stands for posterior intercostal nodes, C stands for cephalic nodes. There is one more name for the cephalic nodes, that are the deltopectoral, means they present in the deltoid and the pectoral region, and the supraclavicular means present above the clavicle. Okay, so these are the some of the lymph nodes that we have to study. Apart from this, we have some other lymph nodes that are the subdiaphragmatic, present below the diaphragm, and the subperitoneal lymph plexus. So these are the total lymph nodes or the total lymphs that are actually responsible for the drainage of the breast. So the trick to remember is IMA PCS. And the internal mammary nodes accounts for the 20% of the lymphatic drainage, axillary nodes accounts for the 70%, and the posterior intercostal accounts for the rest 5%. And the remaining 5, in total we have discussed the 95%. The remaining 5%, that's only a small fraction, is done by the cephalic nodes and the supraclavicular, and apart from the subdiaphragmatic and the subperitoneal lymph plexus. So this was all about the general introduction to lymph nodes. Now the axillary lymph nodes are further divided into 4 parts: anterior axillary, posterior axillary, central, and the lateral part. Okay, anterior axillary nodes are also called the pectoral lymph nodes, and the cephalic nodes are called deltopectoral. They are called deltopectoral. Okay, and the anterior axillary is also called pectoral lymph nodes. Okay, another name for anterior axillary lymph nodes are the pectoral lymph nodes that account for the most of the drainage of the lymphatic lymph or the lymphs from the breast. Now we'll study about the channels or the lymphatics through which the lymph actually pass from the breast. Okay, then we divide the whole lymphatics into 2 parts: superficial and deep. Superficial lymphatic drain the skin of the breast except the nipple and the areola. So all the superficial skin of the breast will be drained by the superficial lymphatics except the nipple and the areola part. Areola is a highly pigmented skin around the nipple. Okay, that is present many small sebaceous glands and many other structures are present that we already discussed in the anatomy of the mammary gland. You can see over there in the previous video. And the deep lymphatics drain the parenchyma or the content of the breast and the nipple and the areola. So the remaining part of the skin, that was the nipple and the areola, is also drained by the deep and along with the main parenchyma of the breast. So we divide the whole breast. Suppose this is circular part is signifying the breast, and we divide the whole breast into 4 parts. Firstly, we divide into lateral and medial. Okay, lateral and medial. Suppose this is the lateral side and this is the medial side. Okay, so this is the lateral part, this half, and this is the medial part. Now each part is divided into upper and the lower part. This will be upper lateral, this will be upper medial, this will be lower lateral, and this will be lower medial. So I hope this part is very clear. We divide the whole breast into 4 sections. Firstly lateral and medial, then again we divide into upper and lower. So let's mark out the region over here: upper lateral, upper medial, lower lateral, lower medial. Now this part is very clear. Now keep in mind, most of the lymphatic drains from the left side or the lateral side drain into the axillary lymph nodes. Okay, most of the lymphatics or the lymph drain into the axillary lymph nodes. So from the lateral quadrants they will drain into the axillary. In the axillary, I told you anterior axillary is the most important. anterior axillary. In the medial side, they mostly drain into the internal mammary. Internal mammary accounts for this 20% and the anterior axillary accounts for the 70% of the lymphatic drainage. Then there is something you should also remember about the lower lateral and the lower medial part. Lower lateral quadrants also drain into the posterior intercostal lymph nodes. Okay, so these are the posterior intercostal lymph nodes that account for the 5%. So some part from the lower lateral also drain into the posterior intercostal. And what about the lower medial? Lower medial quadrant drain into the subdiaphragmatic lymph plexus. So there is some plexus present over here that are called the subdiaphragmatic and the subperitoneal lymph plexus. So they drain into subdiaphragmatic SD and subperitoneal lymph nodes. So before we discuss the diagram, let's see that in the 3D the lymphatic drainage of the breast. So we have divided the breast into 4 sections: upper lateral, upper medial, lower lateral and the lower medial. Most of the lymphatic drainage of the breast occurs through the lateral side, and that also into the anterior axillary group of lymph nodes. You can see most of the channels that are arising from the breast arise from the lateral side, and that also draining into the anterior axillary group of lymph nodes. Now there's some part that are also draining into different sections. So let's see one by one. Upper lateral drain mostly into the anterior axillary. A part of the lower lateral drains into the posterior intercostal. Upper medial mostly drains into the, or medial side mostly drains into the internal mammary, and part of the lower medial drain into the subdiaphragmatic and the subperitoneal lymph plexus. Keeping all this knowledge in mind, we are going to draw the diagram. Okay, so the most of the lateral side will drain into the axillary lymph nodes. So we have to firstly define the or name the all the lymph nodes. So that they are present in the center, they are called the, or near the central region, they are called the internal mammary, because they are present most internal. So this is the internal mammary. So first of all, we discuss all the axillary nodes. So we have how many group? We have anterior group, posterior group, central group, lateral group, and one more group we have, that's called the apical group. So also write it down in the notes. We have one more group, that's called the apical group. So in total we have 5 groups in the axillary nodes. So let's see. This is the anterior one. So let's number them. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be the 5th. So this will marked as 1. That's the anterior axillary. You can see the number of lymph nodes are much more in number as compared to the other 3 as compared to the other 2. So this is the anterior. Then next to it will be the posterior, and this is the most lateral, that's why it's called the lateral group, number 4. This is the central, number 5, and the central will be number 3, and the apical will be number 5. So these are the apical, lateral, central and posterior anterior axillary nodes. Okay, now the remaining this is called the cephalic node. Cephalic is also called the deltopectoral. This is the subdiaphragmatic or subperitoneal. So it is the plexus over there. So you mark the answer or mark it as subperitoneal. Subperitoneal lymph plexus. And this is the posterior intercostal. Posterior intercostal. So we have labeled most of the lymph nodes that are the internal mammary. So internal mammary are present in the center. Then with the axillary divided into 5 parts: anterior, posterior, lateral, central and the apical. Then we have the cephalic nodes present near the clavicle, which is also called the deltopectoral nodes. Then we have the posterior intercostal. We have supraclavicular present on the clavicle that are of very least significance, and the subdiaphragmatic and the subperitoneal lymph plexus are also present. Now let's see the drainage pattern. So all or mostly from the lateral side all will drain into the anterior axillary. So mark your arrows like this into the anterior axillary from upper lateral and the lower lateral. A part of the lower lateral will drain into the, look at this diagram, posterior intercostal. So part of the lower lateral will drain into the which will a group of lymph nodes that are the posterior intercostal lymph nodes. Most of the medial will drain into which? Internal mammary. So most of the medial will drain into the internal mammary, and a part of the lower medial will drain into the subdiaphragmatic lymph plexus. So when the lymph reaches the anterior axillary, it passes on to the central one. So it passes into the central axillary lymph nodes. Then from the central it passes into deltopectoral or the cephalic. Then it passes into the apical axillary group of lymph nodes. Then it passes on through the other lymphatic channels. So this was all about the lymphatic drainage of the breast, and I have told you about the lymph nodes, the lymphatics, and the pattern of passage of the lymphs from the breast to the apical axillary lymph nodes and to the other part of the lymphatic channel. So if you like the video, please hit the like button and do subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.